What's up, everybody? It's Cam back at it again, but without Rich this time. So this week, it's just going to be me. It's going to be a solo show, and that's how it goes. And this week, we're going to be talking about the WNBA, UFC, NBA, as we usually do every pod. That's kind of our three main topics. We could start off, I want to say the WNBA for the most part of the show, because, for NBA, we already seen it. Celtics went home. Tatum tore his Achilles. Knicks move on to face the Pacers. And then you got Game 7 with Thunder Nuggets. And I think that's probably the most fun series of the entire playoffs, to be honest, because every other series, it kind of felt like where it was going for the most part. This is the one that's like, what's going to happen? Who's the MVP? What really matters? And I think this might actually be the true championship. The two best teams facing off are actually the two best right now. And I think that's the Thunder versus the Nuggets. Moving on, there's the Timberwolves waiting for them in the cut, waiting in the timber. But I don't think the Wolves they got all the bark, but no bite in comparison. So I think it's going to be whoever wins, Nuggets or Thunder. Whoever comes out of that series will most likely be the NBA champions. And then they'll probably face the Knicks in the finals. That's my predictions. Just because I think you have blue chips on the Knicks. And on the Pacers, it's a bunch of overachievers. I think at some point it kind of caps out. It's just OG is like a one-on-one type human. You know what I'm saying? Like there are these just like blue chip, like there's no other way to really describe these type of athletes other than like blue chip athletes. Like these are five-star, like legit 5 stars of the 5 stars. Like if you compared all of the 5-star players, there would be an elite of the elite. And that's what I'm saying. And it feels like that's what the Pacers are up against. Miles Turner is like a 6'9" shot blocking center who stretches the floor. He does a lot because he's smaller and he's undersized. He's an undersized big, but he's got a lot of different stuff to his game that evens it out. But when you go up against a guy like Cat, who is basically the real version of a Miles Turner, he's actually like a full-sized version and can do everything that Miles can as like an undersized big, like a small ball big. But Cat is a small ball big who's 7 feet. And so I don't think you're worrying about size matchups or skills or shooting. I think he beats them in every facet except maybe shot blocking, just shot timing. We already know Miles Turner is really good at that. And he's actually leading the playoffs in blocks. He's been killing it. So slam the over if you want to try to get crazy, bet the over on the Miles Turner blocks because he is going nuts. But let's see how he does this series. This series is a totally different matchup, and shots are coming from different spots, so it might not happen this series. But who knows? Let's see if he can continue his streak of being in the lead. What else? Nothing else comes to mind, I don't think, for NBA. We got the Game 7. Who's the real MVP? I think this game decides it. Shea or Jokic? Boom. We get the answer. And then I think the season should be finalized for all the awards. Because, after MVP, not many other things. UFC last night was actually pretty interesting. Had a lot of finishes, a lot of fun fights. Let's start the night. I couldn't believe Tisha Pennington and Park Young-sung were on like a prelim card, because they're pretty damn good fighters. Like everybody who fought ahead of them doesn't really compare in resume, so it was really weird to see them like opening a prelim. But maybe they're trying to get people to tune in and watch from the beginning. Maybe that's how they get like their viewership. So maybe it's just a marketing move. But I thought it was really weird that they were like the lowest people on the card. Gomez had a huge knockout on Elise Reed. That was absolutely brutal. And it was pretty shocking, to be honest. She's got Denise Gomez now is going up in all these knockouts. And I think she has one more knockout. She ties the most knockouts in women's history. And she's early in her career. Like, this is somebody who really hasn't even made a name for themselves yet. and she's already like talking about tying or breaking records. So we'll see what comes from her. Lumana Santos looked great last night. Didn't know too much about this Cuban dude, Yadier Del Valle. He was pretty solid. I thought he really did some work. And if anything, his interview after the fact said a lot, because he talked about the whole time they were talking about this Cuban boxer, blah, 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 blah. Well, he grew up wrestling his whole life, like through school and everything, and then eventually took on MMA. So he grew up with a really strong wrestling background and has a lot of things to his game that not a lot of people might have known before, because they were marketing him as this Cuban boxer. Which, I mean, hey, that alone, if you're a Cuban boxer, there's been a ton of Cuban boxers who have historically been some of the best fighters ever. So Cuba pumps out Cuban boxers, but at the same time, this guy has a lot more to his game. So it's going to be fun to follow his career, see where it goes. And on the other hand, the guy Connor Matthews, he said it before the fight. He has his fireman training coming up or something like that in about a month. And if he won, he would stay in the UFC. And if he lost, he would be a fireman. And it kind of just like, it felt like a crossroads in his life. And him talking about it in that pre-fight interview, I was like, damn, I don't want to have to feel this way, but it felt like he was going to be a fireman the next morning. And that's how it is today. I think he's going to go be a fireman for the rest of his life. And hey, shout out to you, civil service, all the public servants out there. I work for public school systems, so, always a fan of the public servants. So helping the people. And shout out to Connor Matthews. Fought a good fight, but hey, this guy's got one dream, and he just wants to be a fighter. So go chase your other dreams, saving your neighborhood, your city around you. Good for him. Moving on to Jared Gordon and Thiago Moises. Moises is always like a slow fighter. I've always said that. Nothing with him has felt like it's pop. So like a guy like Jared Gordon, whose nickname is Flash, who's all about power, explosiveness, and speed. Like, I don't know, Thiago Moises, I feel like he just doesn't bring that type of in-your-face type of fight. He's got some smooth stuff, some good counters, some wrestling, but Flash Gordon's the man. And he said it in the post-fight interview that he felt like he was on a 6-fight win streak, even though he lost some decisions. He left that fight not feeling like he got his ass whooped. He might have lost from the judges, but he says he mentally felt like he left that ring and won, and he felt like he got cheated. So he has no loser mentality right now of, I got to prove myself. He feels like he's been proving it, and if anything, they're not noticing, and he's just going to keep being himself. So good for Jared Gordon. Keep pushing forward, keeping the record going. Who knows? Maybe he'll get a rematch against Paddy Pimblett at some point, but I think that's the loss he's talking about, that he believes he actually won. Moving on, got the Gabe Green sub. It was like a whatever type fight. I mean, he got taken down a few times, and then he ended up getting the finish. So it's kind of interesting that he got taken down and finessed the finish. We did want to see the Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato fight. That ended up getting canceled last second, like in the middle of the night. It got canceled, which was really weird. I didn't hear why, so we'll have to try to find what happened. Richie would have probably known if he was here today. There was the fight. What's his name? Melchizal Costa. He fought decently. I thought he didn't look good in the first round, but as the fight went on, he definitely beat Arosa up, and Arosa's face was hamburger meat by the end of it. Nursultan, he's just cardio king. I don't know how he makes this division, but some piece of me has to remind myself that being, he's 6'5" and fights in 185, but that's not that crazy, because if you look at the WNBA, oh my God. If you look at the NBA, there's plenty of guys who are 6'4", 6'5", and 185 pounds. So you could be an elite athlete, have incredible explosiveness, speed, strength, dexterity, flexibility. All of these things can still happen when you're 6'4" at 185. So that's not just some crazy thing. And I feel like we do think about fighters in a different way. You obviously like thinking about someone big, strong, muscular. You're thinking about fighting and punching and strength. So that can happen on a thin frame. And Nursultan, again, picking up another dub at 185 and being 6'5". So it's pretty impressive. Next was Marian Santos over Sadiq Youssef. It was a pretty interesting fight that really, I don't know. I'm surprised Santos won, but at the same time, it is what it is. It kind of felt like a draw, but like Youssef felt like he was pushing more. And I usually just like somebody who felt like they were a little bit more aggressive. If it's going to be a draw, I'm going to side with the guy who I felt like led the dance and went for takedowns. If it's a draw and there's not really any crazy damage that we could lean on and say, oh, well, this guy, he got cut in the second round and he was bleeding. And, you could just say, oh, well, the damage and yada, yada. But that wasn't really the case. Next and finally would be somebody who I've been preaching for years. I got his rookie card, his UFC rookie card when he got his first fight, and Panini Instant dropped their little thing where you could go order somebody's instant moment the night it happens. It was his first win. And I was following the dude actually before he even got to the UFC. And you could just tell, like, he's going to be a champ one day. I don't know. I can't explain it. You got to see the way he fights. And if you've ever watched championship fights and you've seen what skills they have and what it takes, their cardio, everything, strength, even like positioning with his distance. He abused the distance last night with Gilbert Burns. I think Michael Morales last night is in his scariest form, and that alone should put fear in all of the division, mainly because he just destroyed Gilbert Burns. Like, absolutely destroyed him in 1 minute and 40 seconds. And this is somebody who went all 3 rounds with Chimaev. Don't forget, everyone was saying the baddest motherfucker in the world was Khamzat Chimaev. And he went 5 rounds with Gilbert Burns. Morales got him out of there in 1 minute 40. I don't know. That's all I got to say. I've been saying it. Michael Morales is probably going to be one of the GOATs of the UFC. He did it. If you watched the show last week, I already said it. But even after the fight last night, grabs the mic, shouts out his mom for really putting him into MMA and getting him into, this whole scene. So his mom owns a gym where they're from, and she has raised him in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and an MMA style. And he's a freak athlete who grew up in the gym. This is like the perfect combination of everything the UFC ever wanted. This is a second-generation MMA fighter who is born, bred, and then also, like, athletically gifted. So it's just everything the UFC has built for. Like, this guy looks up to the UFC. You know what I'm saying? The same way maybe Michael Jordan or any other player, LeBron James, looked up to players before him. Now there's been a bar set for the past 25 years of UFC. Now you have a full generation who grew up knowing the UFC and wanting to get there, training, and being the best they could be, not just some random tough guys who decided to join a new fight club that's on TV. That's what it was for a little while. The Tank Abbotts of the world kind of proved that, but they came and went. Those brawlers aren't here as much as they used to be. And even somebody like Tai Tuivasa, who we've seen kind of come up as a brawler, or Kimbo Slice, these guys, Jorge Masvidal, guys who come in as brawlers, don't always have the greatest success. They do have their wins and their highlight reels and things like that. But the guys who are like really into it, all facets of life, raised in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Judo or Muay Thai or something, where they come from it from their childhood. Now they're being raised into it and then into the UFC. And you're seeing like finished products, a guy like Ilia Topuria, incredible. absolutely incredible, almost a perfect fighter. There's so many of these guys to where there was only how many really perfect fighters were there back in the day that didn't have holes in their game and used all of these skill sets that are still used today. Leg kicks, using the fence. There's just certain strategies that people have used that have won championships, like Khabib. Khabib has kind of paved the way, and people have stole that. Islam has now had, what, a 5-6 year run with the belt with that fight style that Khabib had previous, and that he learned under the tutelage of Khabib. That's his number one trainer. So, we see how it is, and that's the new fight style. But there's people who had this before, and it was very few, but it was like George St. Pierre, Damian Maia, I think even was very slept on back in the day. John Jones obviously has always been ahead of the curve. Even today with modern fighters, Surreal Gone, you come in with a real kickboxing background, he washes him. The only guy now, I think, in the heavyweight division is Tom Aspinall. If he beats Tom Aspinall, then I don't think there is an argument on who the GOAT is. It's John Jones. And he was, like I said, so ahead of the curve. But I think we have a new John Jones on the come up. Dare I say, it is Michael Morales. He's like the next coming. So that's what I see. I'm calling it. I've been calling it for years. And yeah, we're just gonna keep seeing him go on these win streaks and beat people that nobody thinks he could beat, and he's just gonna keep pushing it. And like I said, his mom got him into the gym. It's different. I can't explain it, but like I think if your dad gets you into something, typically it's probably because he he likes this. This is his hobby or something like that. Moms, they have a way of like making it a lifestyle. I wish I could explain this a little bit more, but when it's coming from like this like side of femininity and love, and it's coming from your mom, it probably hits you in a different way. So for his mom to raise him as a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist, I think that's just on another level. That you're buying into it from your mom, not even from your dad. I don't know. I just think it's some psychology as a son that your mom is teaching you how to fight. Like you internalize it in a totally different way. Like it's almost like a life lesson, Obviously you take it from your dad and you want to get better, be a better fighter, be stronger, be a man. But like something coming from your mom usually is something to help you have a better life. So if you're buying into this is what I need. I don't know. That's what I think, and I've seen his interviews and kind of heard him talk about his mom before, and it just seems like it's coming from a whole different place. And it's almost like a religion, if I could even put it that way. Like he's really bought into MMA and how it's developed him as a person. It's interesting to hear him talk. So I don't know. I just think it hits him different, and that's probably why I'm saying this, because if you listen to his interviews, I think you'd come away with the same exact feeling. What else? I mean, next week it's going to be pretty boring. Dustin Jacoby, he's fighting Bruno Lopez, Aaron Blanchfield and Macy Barber. If anyone knows of a fight that could be interesting next week, I mean, Macy, I don't even like Macy that much. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be too much fights. Jordan Levitt, remember this dude who beat somebody and started twerking? He's fighting next week. So that might be the highlight of next week for UFC. Other than that, it really looks like a dead card. That's what they do when they put it on ESPN. So there's that. The following week, though, UFC 316 is going to be crazy. Merab gets his rematch. We got Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. Joshua Van and Bruno Silva should be pretty interesting. Wang Kong fights next week. Gastelum and Joe Pyfer. Chito Vera and Mario Batista. Though I feel like it's not Chito Vera and Mario Batista. It's actually a new guy that's coming in. I seen them. They showed him real quick, and I'm not lying when I say this. They said his name is Patchy Mix. Patchy, like my beard, Patchy, and Mix, M-I-X. His real name, I don't know. We'll have to look into it. But last night I seen they signed a guy named Patchy Mix. I gotta Google it now. I should have been more curious last night. But yeah, Google Patchy Mix. He's the Bellator champion of 135. His name is Patrick Mix, but they call him Patchy. And he was born in New York. And he does jiu-jitsu. So should be interesting. He's 20-1. And I think the one is actually not a loss. I think it could be a draw. Let me look into this. Is it a draw or a loss? Oh yeah, it's a loss. Okay, it's a loss. Sometimes I get mixed up. When you see three numbers, I'm like, is that the loss or the draw? All right, so yeah, Mario Batista. I think he's gonna come in and smash this dude. I mean, he beat Sergio Pettis, which is whatever. I'd probably have to watch some more fights on him, but I mean, he beat Magomedov and Sergio Pettis. I know Sergio Pettis is decent in Bellator, and then Magomedov. I mean, come on, you beat those two guys. And he beat him twice, too. He beat him before the belt, and then he beat him defending the belt. Like I said, I probably got to watch some more Patchy Mix because I didn't hear about this dude because I don't really be paying attention to Bellator 135. Just is what it is. But he seems to be on the come up. So we'll get some tape in. He's also 5'11" and fights at 135. That's pretty fucking big. So, Patchy Mix might actually be somebody in the UFC when he gets here. We'll see. And just from that alone, seeing him beat the Pettis brother, seeing him beat Magomed twice, I don't know. At 5'11", that sounds scary. At 135, there's nobody that big except what, Sugar Sean? And Sugar Sean's like, but he looks like a stick. This dude looks kind of muscular at 135. I don't even know how. Must have the skinniest legs. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Moving on to the WNBA. We had some great games. Actually, it wasn't fully great games. I thought it was going to be all great games. The Liberty versus Aces game was a blowout. Like a 30-point blowout. I couldn't believe the Aces lost that bad. Is that what they're going to look like without Kelsey Plum? Was Kelsey Plum that important? Because I thought Jackie Young played a great game. I think Chelsea Gray is having some aging before our eyes, that's for sure. And Joelle Lloyd's been slowing down for 2 years. So this feels like the Aces' last go of it. I think they built their team really solidly, but they have problems. They really do. You're going to be relying on Megan Gustafson all year because Cheyenne Parker-Tyus got pregnant again. It just is what it is. She's out for the year. It's an injury. Or she's on the, it's considered an injury. She's out for the season. Pregnancy. So this is what the Aces have to deal with. They found a backup big, somebody who could replace Candace Parker and kind of give Asia something. And it would have been Tyus. She's got a jumper. She plays great defense. She boxes out. She does all the right things that you need her to do. Better than Kia Stokes. She is better than Kia Stokes. But now it's just going to be Kia Stokes and Gustafson being the backup. And Queen Egbo. So we'll see how Queen does and see what she does on the Aces. But I'm not like a huge Queen Egbo believer in her being like a real WNBA player on a championship level team. I think she has big flaws in her game. She has a lot of tunnel vision. She needs to learn to kick opposite more because I feel like she's just so predictable in being a black hole, and she's not even that good of a scorer. Teams just know they close on her. It's a turnover. It's a bad shot attempt. And even if it's a foul sometimes, you live with it because I think the percentages lie with her missing or turning the rock over. So, like, all she has to really learn how to do is kick opposite. And if she kicks opposite twice in the beginning of the game, the defense is now honest. And now they have to play her legit. And then she could get her one-on-one matchups. Like, you just got to understand this. You can't just keep going, boom, 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 time after time, and think you could just go possession after possession. You have to pass around. You have to keep the defense guessing, or they're going to continue to collapse on you until you make that move. But she doesn't seem to really ever make that move, and then she just gets pulled because she does some dumb shit. So I don't know. I don't know about the Aces this year. She's got some new shoes. I love the new shoes. She's got some pink hair. I love the pink hair. But do I love the team combination of everybody? It's a question. Like I said, Gray's getting older. So is Lloyd. Jackie Young's in her prime. She's going to be killing it. I mean, she hit 4 threes last night, 5 dimes. She's going to play hard all year. She's going to go nuts. She's going to go nuclear scoring. And we'll see how it goes. I know Jackie Young is going to get 18 a game this year or more. That's just what she is now. She's so much better. Chelsea Gray was out for a long time last year, and Jackie had to pick up facilitating roles. She had to score a little bit less. Plum was scoring at a decent clip. I don't think she was really affected by the Gray absence more than Jackie was, because it went from primary point guard responsibilities of Chelsea Gray went to Jackie Young, and Plum still just got to be more of the off-ball asset on the squad. Now she's on the Sparks running her own ship, and she's got to do some things. So now you're seeing Kelsey Plum, first game, opening night, she scores huge points, 37 points, WNBA record for opening night, 37 points, and she had 6 assists on top of that. So what an incredible performance by Kelsey Plum. She did an amazing job. She really did. You know, they came away with the win too. That's huge. It's going to be a fun year. I'm just looking at the standings right now. You know, the Dream took an L early, but they look great. I trust that team. Jordan Canada's also not healthy yet, though she's rarely healthy. But I really like Jordan Canada. They cut Haley Jones, who was a backup guard on the Dream, who I always thought was decent. You know, she's never going to be a superstar. She's a glue girl. She's a glue girl off the bench. You bring her, she's the 7th or 8th best player on your team. She goes out there. She doesn't do dumb shit, but she also doesn't score or put pressure on the rim. And I think some teams and some coaches just have a philosophy. If you don't operate and put pressure on the rim, then I can't really put you out there. You know, if you're not looking at the basket every time you catch and at least make the defense think, there's a 1% chance you might shoot it. But if you give 0% chance to the defense that they don't even think you're going to even look at the rim, then you're not a threat. You're not creating anything, and you're actually creating a 4 versus 5 scenario because the defense doesn't have to guard you. Now they know they could put 5 on 4 because you're not aggressive and you don't care. You're scared to shoot. Now it's 5v4. Now you're creating mismatches for your team in a worse way. So that's what happened to Haley Jones. I really thought she still had some improvement. I thought she could have worked on her body a little bit better and get in shape and do something. But maybe she'll get another opportunity with another team. I think she's a good, smart, high IQ basketball player. It's just this up and down, fast-paced basketball sometimes just isn't designed for somebody who did 4 years of college. And they really like a slow-paced, methodical offense, and the game needs to be played efficiently and respectfully. And then there's just people who go up and down and it's just shot after shot, and they got a 5-second memory, you got to have a goldfish memory. You let the shot go up, you make or miss, you run back. It is what it is. You go back, you play D, you get it back, and you put up another shot. And then it's just a numbers game and volume. So there's a lot of philosophies out there. I just think the Dream right now are not rolling with whatever Haley Jones is doing. Way too safe play style. Got to get more aggressive, a little more explosive too. But I think she's efficient. You know, she doesn't turn the rock over. It's not like she's sloppy. It's just she doesn't really do much. That's the thing. So hopefully Haley Jones get a little more aggressive, get that jumper up, and be undeniable. But until then, you gotta put the pressure. What else? The Liberty. Sabrina had a terrible game. She had 8 points. I mean, she had some rebounds, but 4 assists, no threes, 8 points, just a complete dud. And I don't think she ever really expected to play with Natasha Cloud like this, to where Natasha Cloud has taken over the offense, made it hers, 9 dimes, and even a 3. So she dropped more assists and more threes than Sabrina Ionescu in the first game. I don't think she's going to outshoot her for the rest of the season, but that is something to notice that, you know, Natasha Cloud, she did boost her three-point percentage when she was on the Mystics. I don't think shot it too well last year for the Mercury, but she knocked one down for the Liberty, and they got a huge victory over the Aces. And Natasha Cloud might also be the kryptonite for the Aces, because that was nuts. A 30-point victory over Las Vegas? That doesn't happen. So that's a big win and something that we should keep in the back of our mind, even when the playoffs roll around. That 30-point victory is going to stick with the Aces. They're going to remember that shit. That's going to be something that a little thing that gets stuck in your craw. What do they say? Is, you know, like you're gonna think about that. That's gonna be a little painful thing for the whole year. They're gonna have to sit with that. They got blown out by 30, and Sabrina didn't even play well. What happened is Sabrina made a couple extra shots. We're talking about a 40 ball, and that's just disrespectful. You don't want to lose by 40 to your rival, your main opponent, who everyone kind of collectively says, oh, it's Liberty Aces. They're the two best teams. They're the two best teams, you know, for the past 5 years. They've been the powerhouses, and it's their league. You know, we seen last year the Lynx got a little bit better, but I still believe the best talent is on the Liberty, and the best talent is on the Aces. It's not the Lynx. The Lynx are third. For what it is, they're third. Third is fine. Third's not the worst. It's nowhere near the worst. They're in the top fourth. You know, there's 13 teams. And let's say even if you just set them in just 12, you know, cut the Valkyries out. They just played one game. They're in the top fourth of the league. They are the top 25% of the league. So can't be too mad about it. They're pretty good. They're just not better than the Lynx or the Aces in terms of talent. You know, you have overachievers. They're a lot like the Pacers rather than the Knicks. The Pacers, bunch of overachievers. I mean, you got people like Bridget Carlton. Kayla McBride is still busting ass. You know, Courtney Williams is still busting ass doing her thing. So it is what it is. I just think Lynx are third. I'll always take the Aces over them. You got Asia. She's the best player. No matter what, she's the best player, and talent moves everything in this league because it's such a small league. That same argument was for Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain back in the day when there were only 12 NBA teams. They're like, oh, well, Wilt Chamberlain's records don't count because there were only 12 teams and they were plumbers and they had to have side jobs to support their life. Well, you could say the same thing about W for the majority of it. Most of those players don't just work one job. The WNBA isn't their only job. And there's only 12 teams. So if you're going to say that, then it applies to this league too. So you got to open your horizons and maybe change your perspective a little bit because, yeah, the talent pool is deep. You know, even in a 12-team league, now it's expanded to 13. Next year, it'll be 15 because you have Toronto and Portland coming in. And then they'll be vowing for a 16th team and capping it there for a little while. I listened to the interview between Bill Simmons and Kathy Engelbert. And Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA, as Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA, Kathy Engelbert says she wants 16 teams, no less, by 2028. So that means 4 new teams in the next 4 years. This year is the first year. Valkyries. We get the Tempo, Toronto Tempo. I don't know the Portland Trailblazers team name yet. Either they didn't say it or I just forgot it and I'm drawing a blank. But Toronto Tempo is the Toronto team. They look pretty cool. I wish they did something, the Toronto Talon, because that's the claws of a raptor. You know, like even a bird, a talon, a raptor is a bird of prey, as well as being a like a velociraptor, like a dinosaur. So you have the Toronto Raptors, and then you have the WNBA team, the Toronto Talon, which it's also claws, nails. You know, girls paint their nails, and the nails are like it's like a feminine thing, you know? So like the Talon, I don't know. I thought it would have been so cool. And I think the WNBA teams, I don't think they should try to be their own necessarily. I think there should be a brother and sister team. So these major cities, I feel like there's a lot of cohesion and a lot of partnerships you could get done with the same theme. You know, if you put a WNBA team in Boston, I think it should be the Boston Shamrocks, the Boston Clovers, the Boston Luck, the Boston Green, something green. You got to represent the Celtics as well because it's supposed to be the sister team, the brother and sister team. You know, it's not just they're following what the men are doing, but it's just supposed to be a mutual respect, and that's how it's supposed to be looked at, in my opinion. That's how I would look at it. It's kind of like the LA Lakers and the LA Sparks. They don't really have too much in common. The Lakers is about water, and the Sparks are about, you could potentially say that's electricity or even fire. So it's like fire and water, the spark in the lake. So it's a duality no matter what. They're opposites. At least they're not something completely irrelevant and just they have nothing in common. So you got water and fire. Obviously, that doesn't really mix, but it's polar opposite. So, and they kept the same colorway, purple, yellow. That's why I think it's so cool when you match. Somewhat something has to match your city. You don't just go in there and you put a team in Boston and then you make them purple. Like, what the fuck? Why are they purple? You know? Like, what you wouldn't call them the Boston Barneys, and you got some purple dinosaur representing the Boston women's team. It would be stupid. But the amount of partnerships you could do, you have the men's players supporting the women's team, and like, you know, Jason Tatum wearing a green and white hoodie. And you're like, oh, he's wearing a Celtics. Oh, he's wearing the other hoodie. He's wearing it for the girls' team. So it's like, and then men see it. And then they go, oh, well, it's kind of like wearing a Celtics shirt. You know, that Shamrock has 3 leaves and the Celtics has 4 leaves. It almost looks the same thing. It's like the same design. I'll rock the Clovers. I don't have to rock the Boston Celtics. I'll rock a Boston Clovers hat, a Boston Clovers sweater, T-shirt, some shorts, you know, whatever. Like, I feel like it's such an easy marketing tool to just make it match. but some teams don't feel that way. Like there's the Chicago Sky and the Chicago Bulls. The Sky ended up winning a championship, kind of made their own team and made their own look, and that's cool. But they're baby blue versus red of the Bulls versus the Sky. It's not necessarily a sister team. They don't have too many things in common. Completely irrelevant mascots, not fire and water, not polar opposites or anything, but just a bull, an animal, and then all of the sky, the outer space, the atmosphere, the other thing, So there's not too much. The colors don't coalesce. That just doesn't work out. I do wonder what's going to happen with the sun. So there's going to be a Boston WNBA team, and I think the Connecticut Sun are going to move. I don't think the Connecticut Sun are going to stay there, and then Boston gets their own team, though that could be the 16th team. I just think the 16th team will be another team. I think the Sun will leave Connecticut and go to Boston. I've been going to Connecticut Sun games for 20 years. I speak on this stuff very boldly, but it's because I've been a fan and I've really been entrenched in this shit for a very long time. And as a little kid, being 11 years old, 12 years old, I remember going to the Connecticut Sun games, winning free tickets at the grocery store and at school events. And they would just give away these tickets because people didn't go and they want to fill the seats. They want to fill the stadium. And a filled stadium creates FOMO. And it's a psychology thing. It has to be full before it could be filled. So you build it, they will come. So you bring people there, you show them what it is, they'll come back and keep going. And that was their whole marketing pitch. And for a very long time, that's what it was, is they're going to give these free tickets out. And for the most part, it was grandparents taking their grandkids on the weekends. It was a lot of older people who just loved basketball and I don't like today's game and blah, blah, blah. And, during the 2000s where Allen Iverson and the game started to change a little bit. And I think some of the older white crowd loved the W because it was less flash, more about teamwork, less about individualism, less, fights and stuff like that also, because early 2000s was really rough for the NBA. You had a lot of things happening with David Stern, players versus David Stern, and it was very combative up until the Donald Sterling thing with the Clippers. David Stern takes a step back. Adam Silver becomes the commissioner and makes his stamp on the league, getting rid of a racist owner who was talking shit about Magic Johnson, gets him out of there, and now everyone is pro Adam Silver. So, it's this total shift that everyone in the league, even fans, everyone hated David Stern. It was, fuck you, David Stern. You're too strict. You're an authoritarian. You're doing that. You're running the league like it's the military. Let these players have some personality. Now you have Adam Silver as the complete polar opposite. Everything is pro player, player personality. They could do whatever the hell they want. They have their own podcasts. They circumvent the media. Nothing like that would have happened under David Stern. So it's just two different leagues now that we're facing. But with the W, this league is at a prime position to do whatever it wants. And I think there's a chance that they could really catch up to what the NBA is doing, mainly because of betting. I think as long as there's something to bet on, people are going to watch and people are going to tune in and people are going to care even the slightest. So as long as there's betting, NBA and WNBA are going to be closer to synonymous than they were before. Whatever the level was, it's like this now. The gap is closing. I don't know if WNBA will ever pass the NBA. But it's inching closer. And as long as the NBA, like they say, a rising tide lifts all boats, I think as long as the NBA just keeps getting more popular, the W is going to follow. They're never going to fall off. That's something that's not going to happen now. That's impossible. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. The Caitlin Clark effect is here, and now it's entrenched. And that's it. It's the WNBA is now mainstream, and that's how it's going to be. They're on every single betting site, you name it, on every single sports site. I see it on my timeline all the time. Underdog, FanDuel, DraftKings, you name it. They're just posting highlights of Caitlin Clark. And these are the betting sites that have millions of people, and millions of people are betting NFL and everything else. And now they're pushing WNBA highlights. So this just goes to show you where it's going to go, what it's going to be, and why this league is so important. So the 16th team, back to that. I think it shouldn't be Boston. Like I said, Connecticut should move to Boston, and the 16th team should probably be somewhere like in Philly. My main opinion on that is, you have the 76ers. Philadelphia is very, very, very much a sports town. I love Boston. Boston's the sport that I claim. I claim all my Massachusetts teams. But Philly's pretty good. They're our rival in a lot of ways. We got football with Patriots and Eagles. Red Sox and Phillies, I wouldn't say really have too much of a rivalry. I would say probably more Boston. With hockey, Boston Bruins and the Philadelphia Flyers, I think they have more of a rivalry than the Phillies and Red Sox, just being real. And then you obviously have the Celtics and the 76ers, who have plenty of history together. So I think a WNBA team would be really good in Philly or even Pittsburgh. So I've pitched for a very long time that I think if we're going to have an East Coast expansion team in the NBA, men's, Pittsburgh. Bro, in the color scheme is already there. Pittsburgh Steelers, black and yellow. Pittsburgh Pirates, black and yellow. Pittsburgh Penguins, black and yellow. The only major national sport they don't have is NBA. So NHL, black and yellow, right? NFL, black and yellow. Baseball, MLB, black and yellow. NBA is the fourth major team, and they need a black and yellow NBA team. Why doesn't Pittsburgh have a team? They have plenty of fans. They have 3 other sports. Why can't they have NBA? NBA is becoming the number 1 sport in the country, potentially in the world. I think it's better than soccer, but I still think soccer is more popular worldwide. But at least in our country, I think it's more popular, and it's becoming more popular than hockey and baseball. So there should be a Pittsburgh basketball team, the Pittsburgh Armor. That would be my pitch for the name, because the Steelers, the Pirates, you get what I'm saying? The Pittsburgh Armor. And it's actually a little bit of homage to the team that was in Springfield in Massachusetts. We had an ABA team, it was called the D League, actually. D League. Before it was G League, it was the D League, the developmental league. Now it's the Gatorade League, but they call it the G League so it doesn't look like it's an advertisement. But the G League was the D League, and the D League had the Springfield Armor, which was our team. And what's this guy's name? Something Almond. Morris Almond, I think. He had 52 points, and he was the Wilt Chamberlain of the D League. That was the most points ever scored in a D League game, was by a Springfield Armor player. I wasn't there that game, though I went to a few Armor games. I wasn't there for the 52-point game. But that's where I got the name from. But I actually think it would be pretty cool. The Pittsburgh Armor would be a great team for the East Coast expansion team in the NBA. Like I said, major market. You also have an in-state rival, too. You know, like how New York has New York Knicks, and then you also have the Brooklyn Nets. LA has, Clippers and Lakers. I think Philadelphia or Pennsylvania is a big enough state and has enough sports fans to have two rivalries like that. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers and you have the Philadelphia Eagles. So you have two NFL teams, but you can't have two NBA teams. There's cities that have two NBA teams, but only one NFL team, the Los Angeles Rams, right? The LA Rams, but they have two NBA teams, LA Lakers and LA Clippers. So I think there's room for the Pittsburgh armor. That's just my opinion. But that 16th team, where could it go? The WNBA could maybe pave the way in Pittsburgh before the men's team. They could potentially go to Pittsburgh and add an East Coast team. I will say, you know who fucking deserves a WNBA team and deserves a pro sport? Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska deserves a WNBA team. If you see the way they pack out for volleyball, I'm telling you, they can't even go in the arenas for volleyball. They have to play volleyball games outside in football stadiums. They love women's sports in Nebraska. They go hard as fuck for football in Nebraska. They go hard for volleyball, and women's basketball, I think, would be third, which is funny. But they go so hard for volleyball out there that I think it would be easy for them to pick up fandom for a WNBA team, and they would rally hard. The Midwest goes hard for their teams. You see the way they go hard for colleges, you know? That's the way the Midwest is. They're really tribal, you know? They get into it. So I think you put an Omaha, Nebraska WNBA team, and it's money. And look into it. Look into the population. I'll Google this right now. Boston population. And I'll screen share this. Most people don't know this. I feel like there's so many people who are ignorant to the world. When I've talked to people about this before, and they think I'm crazy. So you can see this. Boston population, 650,000. Seattle has more people than Boston. 750,000 people live in Seattle. 650,000 people live in Boston. And here, just to give a fair number, Pittsburgh, 300,000, over 300,000. And I was saying they deserve a team. So does Seattle. Seattle has more people than Boston, so they deserve a WNBA team, and they have one, right? They have the Storm, but they need an NBA team because the men's team moved out. So they'll get a men's team soon in the next few years, which has already been, told by Adam Silver. He wants a team in Seattle, and he wants a team in Las Vegas. So I just showed you the Boston population. Let me show you Omaha, Nebraska population. Omaha, Nebraska's population is 500,000. So it's only 100,000 less than Boston. And Boston is 100,000 less than Seattle. So when you think about Boston being a major city, Seattle's bigger than that by a little bit, by 100,000. And Omaha is under that by 100,000. Personally, I think Omaha is an incredible city. I went to college there. I was there for 2 years. The World Series is there for college baseball, and that's the only thing they really have. And Omaha gets lit. It's incredible. Omaha is so big. It's such a big city, and they've been building it up over the past 10 years. I think it's ready for an actual professional basketball team. Even Lincoln, Nebraska, like I said, 300,000. So Lincoln, Nebraska has as much people as Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh Steelers Pittsburgh Steelers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Pittsburgh Pirates. They have 3 professional teams for 300,000 population, but Lincoln, Nebraska has the same exact population and has 0. Omaha, Nebraska has 200,000 more people than Pittsburgh and has 0 professional teams versus Pittsburgh having 3 professional teams and 3 professional sports. So this is what I'm saying. I think there's such a golden opportunity for Omaha, Nebraska, and nobody sees it and nobody wants to give it any credence. But I promise you, there is $1 billion or more sitting there in sports revenue every year that is untapped. And that's what I see. So, and I know a lot about Nebraska and Omaha specifically. Don't go to North O. North O is the block. You think of Chicago and you think about other shit. Wait till you go to the Midwest and you find out about the blocks in the Midwest. North O, crazy. There's parts of Milwaukee, crazy. I'm just saying, there's things. There's things you got to know about the world. You got to travel the world. You got to see it for yourself. And I've seen it for myself. I've seen 60,000 people at a football stadium watching volleyball. They set up a little wooden volleyball court, and people pack the stadium to watch volleyball outside. It's something you've never seen. You can't fill a high school gym of girls volleyball. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. A small gym that probably seats 100 people, you can't fill it. But in Nebraska, you're overflowing a 50,000 person, a seated arena. You're overflowing it. You can't sell enough tickets. It's sold out. There's not enough tickets for everybody who wants to go. And that's what I'm saying. You have people who love women's sports. They just don't cater to them. They don't sell to them. They overlook them. Because you know why? Because Omaha, Nebraska would be the number 1 spot for all of women's basketball. And then you couldn't say anything. It changes society. It breaks the matrix when you think the Midwest supports women more than anybody. When you think women's sports and supporting women and women's rights and making women rich and equal pay, Nebraska will do that for women. To where most of these major cities, I'm in Los Angeles, most of these people don't go and support women's sports. These are the most liberal people in the world. Crazy, the crazy liberals, as everyone says, far left, very far left perspectives. They do not respect women's sports to the same level they even would look at men's sports, and they probably don't even respect men's sports. But they do not respect women's sports at all. They don't take it at the same face value. So I could show you a whole bunch of people who do take this shit serious and might even take it more serious than a men's sport. It's just a different perspective, So I would just say stew on that and think about it. But for real, Omaha, Nebraska, that's the spot. The Midwest loves women's sports. You go to any event out there, and it's packed. Women's college basketball, everything. It's packed. They just had another sold-out arena over there in Iowa for Caitlin Clark in the preseason for the Indiana Fever. They went there. They scrimmaged against Brazil's national team and sold out again, So, it just is what it is. They support women's sports and women in the Midwest. And I think there just needs to be more love for that. Period. What else? I actually wanted to talk about my WNBA fantasy team. But first, we could talk about Fast Break. So Top Shot had it. Day 1, 5 players who will combine for 70 points. So I was trying to save all my best players. And what I did was Sykes, Sims, Hayes, Smith, and Williams. And it paid off. I got 79 out of 70 points. Thank God for Courtney Williams going off. Sykes went off. And I knew Tip Hayes. Come on, you're putting her on the Valkyries. She's got nobody. She's going to go out there and get buckets. What I was shocked about was Nalissa Smith only getting 6 points. And Tierra McCowan didn't even start. Nalissa Smith is the starting center, which I don't think she really plays center like that. I don't think she's a good center by any means. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the stuff that Dallas Wings coach. He's a new coach. He was under Kurt Miller, and he's known as a servant leader. And so that means he leads by his work, not by motivating or like authority. He gets things done. He runs the errands. He puts in a lot of work, But as a coach, I don't think a servant leader necessarily is the best leader. It's not even pro player. It's not even anything about that. It's more of like certain responsibilities you should know that you need to offload certain responsibilities and do them, not do too much. And I feel like he's digging way too into the analytics, and he's not even making proper basketball sense, because we've seen Nalissa Smith try to play the 5 for the Fever for a long time. She has terrible defense, not the best defensive footwork. She doesn't really block shots in the way you want her to. Tierra McCowan is, and I feel like she's a mess. I seen her defensive rotations were shit. She stopped running. She stopped going hard. She came in as a sub. She had a bad attitude. She had 3 bad fouls fast. I think the coach pissed her the fuck off, because she was averaging a double-double, damn near a double-double last season. She's been a beast for the Wings for years, and now this new guy comes in and throws her to the bench and puts somebody there who's not even a small ball 5, who doesn't play the position well. I don't know. I just don't think he rubbed Tierra McCowan the right way, and I also don't think he's putting Nalissa Smith in an advantageous spot. I think he's actually putting her in the worst spot possible. I think you have Tierra McCowan at the 4, and then you let Nalissa Smith do whatever the fuck she wants at the 4. Like, you let Nalissa Smith cook. Let her play like Carmelo Anthony. She wants to take the long 2s. She wants to bang down low. She wants a couple ISO possessions right there on the block. Like, let her operate and get the shots she wants, and let her find and become the player she wants to be. And that's what they were supposed to be doing. But instead, they surrounded her with a whole bunch of scoring, and they put her at 5. And I don't think Nalissa Smith is going to be good at the 5. So we seen it yesterday. She couldn't score well at the 5. She didn't look good defensively at the 5. Then Tierra McCowan came in, didn't play that well against an undersized backcourt with the secondary lineups of the other team, and just didn't look good against them. There was too much speed. She had an attitude. It was like a whole thing. It really was. I don't know. There's something about it, and I almost want to say he's going to be the first coach fired of the season. The Dallas Wings will fire their coach. Game 1, it looked a little bit of a mess. I'll say, at least for the paint. The paint didn't look good. The bigs, they need some work. It might be he needs some work. Odyssey Sims, looking more like a little sideshow facilitator for Kelsey Plum, which I agree with. Odyssey Sims probably shouldn't be the lead guard on any team at this point in her career, though she's an incredible scorer and everything. I love what Sims does, but I just think Plum's the better option. And Sims is going to have her game. She's going to find her rhythm, and there's going to be some game where you're like, oh, Odyssey Sims, 18-6. She still got it. 18-6. Odyssey Sims, she's a bucket. But it's just not going to be that year for her. So ended up getting the dub night 1. And I thought this was an easy dub night 2. But I got no production from Satu on assists, and none from Sabrina from 3, which I would have expected at least one 3 from her, and honestly, like 5-6 assists minimum. Kelsey Mitchell didn't really find her way finding dimes there either. Atkins only 2 assists. I probably should have went with Vandersloot. I think she had a few more dimes. But yeah, I think Cloud was the pick. So if I would have picked Natasha Cloud, I went over on the 3s. So Natasha Cloud hit 1 3. So I could have replaced Kelsey Mitchell or Ariel Atkins with Natasha Cloud. And if I would have did that, I would have won because she had 9 assists. So there's a 7 assist differential, and I only lost by 6. And there's a 1-3 differential, and I won by an extra point. So I would have had 21 assists and 10 threes, and I would have won. But unfortunately, I went with Ariel Atkins. I thought she'd have some dimes. I thought she would actually out-facilitate Courtney Vandersloot. Vandersloot was out most of the preseason. She really didn't play too much, and I didn't think she would get the minutes or the production that she would have in game 1. She actually did. Vandersloot's an OG, some of the best point guard vision that's ever even graced the WNBA courts. So it's understandable. But I did see what Ariel was doing in the preseason. And Ariel was looking great last year. I don't know. Maybe I overbought in, but she hit the threes. She did her job. She got 2 dimes. I just needed more. And, yeah, I would have had it with Natasha Cloud. Today, we have some games. So it is the Mystics versus the Sun. And it does say Shakira Austin is out here, but I'm actually going to start Shakira Austin. I have a good feeling about it today. I think she's going to come in with a vengeance. Shakira Austin always comes in bugging out. And if anything, she's going to score more than she's going to rebound, though I'm putting her in for rebounds, and there's no points at all. I think when Shakira Austin comes in, she's always excited to hit the court. Last year, she even came back from an injury mid-season. First game in, balls to the wall. She's putting up every shot. She's going at the rim. She's, hitting Euro steps, spin moves. She cooked Chelsea Gray in the one-on-one competitions this summer in the FISA Colliers leagues. I don't know. I like Shakira Austin. I think she's super dope. She's athletic, fast, has decent footwork. She's got a lot of game to her. So I like Shakira Austin for this pick today for some boards, and I hope she just gets back and has a healthy season. I hate to see Shakira Austin hurt. She's been playing in the WNBA for 4 years. Every year she seems to be doing awesome and then gets hurt. Awesome and gets hurt. She doesn't have too much guard skill. She's not out there facilitating. She's not Candace Parker at 6'5", but she's just this fun, athletic big who could rim run, block shots. She's really fast. I don't know. I like Shakira Austin and everything she brings. But my rebounding powerhouse today, it's going to be Fee and Tina Charles, and hopefully Azare could get something going. Udota, hopefully she gets some boards too. I love me some Udota. And that's pretty much it. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, so you can see blocks, rebounds. So I need 3 blocks, 30 rebounds. So 30 rebounds is going to be tough. But if I break it down into 6 rebounds per person, Tina Charles can get 6 rebounds. I mean, she's averaged over 6 rebounds her entire career. She's never averaged less. Azare Stevens, she can give me 5 boards. I'll be happy. Udota, she gets me 5 boards. I'm happy. So that's 10. And then from Tina Charles, even if I say that's 8, that's 18 rebounds, right? And that means I only need 12 more. Fee averages more than 6 boards a game. So that means I need 4 to 6 rebounds from Shakira Austin. Maybe 4, So I'm going with Shakira Austin today. Sometimes Stephanie Dolson could put up a real goose egg on the rebound category. Sometimes she'll get 1 or 2, and you're 6'5", and you're out there for 30 minutes. How did you get 2 boards? But it is what it is. So I'm going to take Shakira Austin here. I really like it. And I also think that the Mystics don't always have all the bigs in the world. So, they're down Aaliyah Edwards. So as long as they're down Aaliyah Edwards, there's going to be somebody who's not eating glass. And if Shakira Austin is healthy, she's eating glass. And then tomorrow, Monday's slate, I'll show you guys this one. It's picked 5 players who will combine for 25 field goals and 2 steals. So I am a little bit worried about this. Now that I know that there's an issue here with Tierra McCowan, I might actually pick Ty Harris. Ty Harris might be the better option here. Because, Tierra McCowan has not put up a single point or a steal all season. And I know Ty Harris gets steals and she hits threes. So hopefully I can get some production from her if McCowan's not going to do anything. I just don't know. I really don't know. I feel like that coach fucked up, and I feel like he might even backtrack and put McCowan in tomorrow because that was just such a botched job of a starting lineup and then a rotation after trying to sub people in, and just bad combinations that I don't think anybody who ever has watched these players play before would do these things. But I think it's just he has his own philosophy of his offense and of how he wants to run his team, that's the way he's running it. And it's just not going to work out. You don't have the personnel you think you do. So, moving on, I do think the Fever are going to finish first this year. I don't think there's any argument about it. You have some of the most talented people, like ever, in the WNBA on your squad. Like, DeWanna Bonner is third in points ever, and she's on your team, and she's your power forward. You got Natasha Howard. You got Kelsey Mitchell. You got motherfucking Aaliyah Boston, who's hitting threes. She was 2 for 3 yesterday. Oh, my God. I love Aaliyah Boston. One of my favorite players, truly. I like Caitlin Clark, but I love Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston hits me home. I don't know why. She just reminds me of a young Tim Duncan, and maybe that's what it is. She's incredible. All right. So I think that's it for the show today. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm a little sniffly. Richie was sick too, so that's why he didn't tune in. It is what it is. You know, people, what do they say? You know, it just is what it is. Under the weather, they say. Even though the weather is getting great out here, feeling a little under the weather, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling better. Like I said, just a little sniffly. Coming off of a cold I had last week, and Richie said he was sick last week coming into this too. So, all right, y'all. Peace. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, and go Michael Morales. Big dub, 18-0. Young GOAT. Peace.